Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let the handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Here are your hosts, Russ Morgan, Joey Murray, and Will DeShazer. Wealth Without Wall Street listeners, community, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. We're about to bring the heat because it is July in Alabama after all. And I'm sitting here with Joey Murray, the Italian stallion, and Russ Morgan, CFP, that he proudly boasts about on a very regular basis. Isn't that right, Russ?
Please call me something else. Call me like the idea guy, the guy who is terrible with words, the guy who loves to talk and hopefully is good at it or working at it. But don't call me the CFP. Even though I do have a CFP, I hold that as a badge of shame.
Well, that's part of what we're talking about. Today we are going over the Wall Street mindset. And isn't that a piece of that? This country, as consumers, as savers, as investors, as business owners, people think, well, he has a license, he has education, he has a knowledge and understanding because he has those initials behind his name. That's not always the case, and we're here to expose that today.
Well, I think the mindset of most things is that we have to have this badge of initials behind our name or before our name or whatever. By the way, my wife is a dentist. I have two brother-in-laws who are doctors. There's nothing wrong with education, and I love learning. But the idea that you have
initials behind his name, that's not always the case, and we're here to expose that today.
Well, I think the mindset of most things is that we have to have this badge of initials behind our name or before our name or whatever. By the way, my wife is a dentist. I have two brother-in-laws who are doctors. There's nothing wrong with education, and I love learning. But the idea that you have to have some specialized training or that you can only deal with people with a specific training, especially as it relates to money, I don't think is actually the value what we want to bring. And the reason this show exists and what we're trying to do is we want you to have knowledge on your own and that you don't have to pay someone else to do it or believe that there's only one way to do it. Because I believe that, as we've all seen in our own personal finances, there's multiple ways to be successful. And what we're trying to do through this show is teach those things.
Yeah, we want to uncover alternatives, ideas that you're not going to hear on every other podcast that's out there. You're not going to hear from the traditional financial planners that you've, potentially had relationships with in the past or going forward. But I think, just this being the first real episode here, why don't we go into a little bit? I mean, you tell them a little bit about your background, Russ, and then we can share more about that.
Well, and I want to tell these guys, I want to tell you that we record once a week, and typically in our office, we may not release every Wednesday, but we do record every Wednesday. And something else very special in Joey Murray's life happens every Wednesday. He gets his butt kicked in a workout class. I mean, our whole office goes to.
Hey,
right? You get the 10-pound, the 8-pound dumbbells.
Come on, I'm up to 12. I'm up to 12.
The tension, as Will said, and something else happens in Joey Murray's life on Wednesday. That was. I mean, you're listening to this for the first time. Geez. You're like, you didn't even get a good look at the stallion yet. This is what we're looking at here on the big screen because it's not sitting next to us.
Look, I have come through a very difficult 6 months of working out consistently, and I'm getting after it, but I still get owned every week in a mostly women class. Majority women are in this class, and they definitely lap me on whatever we're doing, but I'm getting better.
Well, I guess we want you to know that there's going to be a lot of talk about things outside of finance. Our lives, I think, are intertwined in what we do, and we have a fun office, and we enjoy doing what we're doing because it's something that we're passionate about. But we do have to make fun of Joey and his workout class. But I will say I am excited that you are committed, and now, Will, that he's added Monday to the list.
He did go this month.
He's crushing.
Give me some.
Hey, it's not every week.
Right
Don't.
there.
I'm not gonna claim it every week.
He's crushing donuts.
I'm trying.
I mean,
I do the workout so that I can eat donuts.
All right.
Okay.
So back to what we're talking about. We want to talk about the Wall Street mindset because our podcast, Wealth Without Wall Street, was created from us sitting going, how can we do something that is completely opposite of what everybody else has done?
And tell the world about it.
And why do we want to do things, Joey, that is different than everybody else?
Well, I mean, look around, right? What's the, not physically in here, but look around at the other people that you know. The vast majority of them are broke. The vast majority are not getting ahead financially. And it's kind of like we're getting lured into someone else's plan.
Oh, the hook's been set. No
Right?
doubt on that.
So it's just kind of dawned on us, how many years ago was this? Almost 10 years ago, that there's got to be a different way. I mean, years ago, that there's got to be a different way. I mean, I love your story, the more you shared with me about how you came to understand what we're talking about today. Why don't you go into that?
Well, I don't want to bore you, but basically I started as the traditional prototypical financial planner advisor. That's the reason I got the CFP. That was the whole idea, to know exactly what everybody else, all the charts and graphs and the statistics and behind why the trends and market movements and blah, blah,
The
blah.
stock photos on the wall that say "Believe in yourself" with the sunset.
Yeah, the
With the
mountain
lion.
charts that tells you it gets better over time, just keep it here and keep collecting fees.
Mhm.
But I did that. I did that for 4.5 years. And in 2008, I saw money just go away. I mean,
Disappear.
vanish. What scared me about that is I didn't know why, but even worse, I didn't know why I wouldn't do it again. I was the money babysitter. If you haven't heard that term before, that's really what 99% of all financial advisors are. They're money babysitters. They're not managing money. They may be handing it to someone else. Hey, are they coming to get us now?
Yeah, that is a
Okay,
fire
wait.
truck. It's not the IRS,
Okay.
fortunately.
All right, I thought that was the Wall Street police coming to get us. But the reality is that I was a money babysitter. I was like taking people's money and watching it, just like the rest of everybody else. Nobody knew what was going to happen. And sure, I gave all the analogies. Oh, we'll use mutual funds because mutual funds are diversified. Isn't that a Wall Street mindset?
That is one of the biggest ones that we've always heard. Okay, the Wall Street mindset is not like a definition in Webster's dictionary. It is a collection of ideas that we've just all been told so many times, we just accept them as truth.
Yeah, and speaking of definition, what's the definition of insanity?
Continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results.
Exactly. That is being taught and brought upon us.
Well, but that's what I mean. We're becoming this population of following the credentials, right?
Yeah.
We're the herd,
Mhm.
and we are the hamster on the wheel, going nowhere but working hard at it, right? I mean, how
That's
many
right.
people are going to work every single day just to get a paycheck, just to be able to pay the bills for the things that they have? And it's this whole concept of Wall Street. I got to accumulate this amount of money, right? Well, you did one of the funniest videos and blogs on that about having a number.
Yeah, so exactly. And I'll note that if you guys do go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com, our podcast, all of our blogs, all of our resources and continued education is on that website. And I'll note this in the show notes of this episode 1. But basically, at the root of it, who ever decided, what marketing genius, right, decided that having one big number is the ultimate goal? Because I don't know about you, Russ, but when I'm ready to retire, whenever that day may be, and by the way, this whole 65 age, that is a Wall Street mindset. Who said that I had to quit working and stop earning income at 65? Because I don't plan on stopping earning income ever, right? That's what the goal of this show is to teach passive income strategies. But look, who said that upon that age, you've got this large number, right? And some people have small numbers and some people have humongous numbers. What's it matter? And they're carrying it over their head, right? The commercials, the classic, large Wall Street company commercials. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to continue to try to deplete that large number slowly but surely when you could have numbers contributing to add to that? Because I don't know about you, Russ, but I'd love to go play golf in St. Andrews when I'm 68. I don't want to say, I can't afford to do that this year.
That's what happens, though. It is what happens. I can tell you, just sitting down with individuals in that's what happens, though. It is what happens. I can tell you, just sitting down with individuals in retirement, who've done the traditional planning. And as they get ready to start spending money and they see those account balances going down, the first inclination that they have is to slow down spending because they see their number getting smaller, that big number that they're carrying around, and it's not as big as they would hope it would be. And then they don't do the things that they wanted to. You asked what marketing genius? That's Wall Street, bro. That is the classic concept of accumulation.
Yep.
For what reason? For fees.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna expose dirty secrets on fees. That's coming out.
Well, and all that is that's sexy, right? I'm working to this one big number. It's $3 million, and it's going to be so great when I get there. What is great about depleting an account?
Nothing. Nobody wants to, and they know that because they want to continue to accumulate fees on that account. I told you I was a money babysitter just like everybody else. In 2008, I killed somebody's baby. Well, okay, maybe I didn't kill their baby, but I definitely lost.
That might have to be the name of this podcast. In 2008, Russ Morgan killed somebody's baby.
As a money babysitter, I definitely lost the baby for an extended period of time because money, as it dropped 30, 40, 50%, there's no doubt that I was terrible at money babysitting, but I was just like everybody else. I mean, we basically had kids. We had Amber Alert on people's money babies, if we're going to keep that analogy going. Like wild. I mean, it was nuts. And the idea behind, diversified. You're diversified because you got mutual funds. Yeah, when that one sector went down, subprime mortgages, and it hit the bond market, what happened to everything else? Everybody fleed everything and went to cash. And that left everybody else holding the bag. We're sitting in the middle of 2017 in another huge bubble, and people are riding the wave. They've forgotten it. Yep. They've forgotten it because
talking about the mindset, parking money long term. What also goes with that is there's got to be a risk if you're going to have reward. So people have bought into, I'm just going to park it. When the market crashes, what does everybody say? Well, you gotta just stay the course.
Stay it.
You can't. You got to rebound. It'll rebound. When is the time that you ever take it out, right? When do you ever access it?
Never.
That's not true because you have to take it out when you're 70 and a half, right?
Great point.
Well, I mean, if it's one of those qualified plans, right? I mean, that's what you're talking about, the 401ks.
You mean the income plan, right?
Yeah, the Tax Revenue Act plan?
Yeah. So that's great income for someone else.
Well, if you know what we're talking about, just Google the Revenue Act of 1978. And that is where the subsection 401k actually originated, which was accurately named by the government, which, by the way, the government typically names things incorrectly, but they named this one accurately when they said the Revenue Act, because that's all a 401k IRA is for the government, is revenue.
Can you break that down as to why are they named that aptly? So deferring taxes, a lot of people listening to the show may say, well, I'm deferring taxes because today I don't want to pay them. Why would I pay this tax on this amount today when I'm going to get it tomorrow? I'll just deal with that later on. What's the whole bigger picture?
The scam behind all scams is that taxes are going to be lower in the future. I sat down last week with an 87-year-old and she told me she's paying twice the amount of money in taxes today that she was 10 years ago, much less 40 years ago when she was in the middle of her working years. She had her husband passed. Well, her husband passed, and what did that do? That threw her into a single filer. Just go look at what happens to tax brackets for single filers. What happens?
Or ask me.
Yeah. Okay, well, how is it for single filers? You know that how basically these different deductions too that she was receiving, mortgage interest and all these other things, she was writing off. You don't have that anymore. But the idea that we're going to be in a lower tax bracket is, one, a scarcity mindset, because the only way you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire is if you've done a poor job saving money. You're broke. You have no money. Or the government has lots of money and they don't need yours. Now, we hope
one of those things are going to happen.
That's not happening. We're seeing ever increasing debts. We're seeing Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all those things on the brink. We know taxes have to go up, but that's not the only thing that has to go up. They also can raise the thresholds in order to get into each bracket. And people think, oh, well, I only
or lower them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They adjust those. How can you win that game? So deferring taxes to a later date is a joke. And you've got one of the best analogies having come from the mortgage world for, 11, 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we've just always heard. And if you'd have told me this 10 years ago, I would have said, yeah, of course, it's to my benefit to defer taxes. Who wants to pay taxes today? It just kind of rolls off the tongue. It's just kind of the natural.
It's sexy. That's what they want.
It's the normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can make money off of the money that I would have been paying towards taxes. There's all these little nuances that if we really challenge our thinking a little bit, we can start really uncovering, why do I believe that? And it's just because we've heard it a million times. I like to give the example of a mortgage, okay? Because that was my background for 11 years. And, if we're sitting down at the closing table and I pass you the note on your new mortgage, right? And I'd say, hey, so-and-so is going to buy this house at so-and-so street, and it's going to be a 30-year mortgage. Everything's good so far. You get down to that one line that has a percentage after it, and it says TBD. How likely is somebody, if I slide that in front of you, Will, how likely are you going to sign your life away for 30 years and say, I don't really care what the interest rate is today, just let me know in 30 years?
Well, unless
To be
I've
determined.
just got oodles and boodles of cash, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I have not asked anybody that
Regardless,
question
that's not gonna happen.
that said, sign me up.
Unless I'm not going to have any money.
Right.
For you to change the rules on me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
If I'm going to have any money, I'm not going to do that.
But that's just a lack of control. I mean, there's no control in a qualified plan. Not only is there rules limiting on the taxes, right? But then you have rules of these certain ages, right? So let's talk about the penalty phase of
Right.
those things.
Yeah, there's actually magic in qualified plans. I don't know, but do you know that, right?
Magic?
The magic
Like
happens
leprechauns?
between
Lucky
age
Charms or
59 and a half and 70 and a half.
Huh.
That's the magic 11-year period. Now, you can actually access your money without a penalty during that time. Of course, you're subject to whatever the taxation is of those funds at that time, but you can magically get your money. Now, I don't know anybody that's aged 59 and a half. Do you celebrate birthdays on half years?
You do when you're 8.
Yep, that's right. My daughter does. Yeah, I'm 4.5. Yeah, okay, good. Good for you. But who came up with that? 59 and a half, 70 and a half?
Well, because it's one of those things, who knows how old you are? You go into that. I mean, but we're in 2017, and this is important as you're talking about qualified plans, and we're talking about Wall Street, is that the baby boomer generation.
That's a lot of people, by the way.
Yes, this year actually will hit 70 and a half. Which means that they're
Insert
going
round of applause for them.
which means they're going to have to start taking out required minimum distributions. Well, this is important. Where have they been taught to save all their money, Joey?
Qualified.
Taking out required minimum distributions. Well, this is important. Where have they been taught to save all their money, Joey?
Qualified plans.
Qualified plans, which are invested in what sort of things?
Oh, stocks, bonds,
Mutual
mutual
funds.
funds.
The market, right? Wall Street is what they're taught to do. Now, they're going to be forced to take out distributions out of those accounts. That means they are selling. Okay, I'm going to give you an economics lesson here. They're going to be selling money from the market. Now, there has to be someone buying.
Ooh, let's talk about my generation.
There's got to be somebody buying. And here's Will, the millennial, right?
Let's talk about the millennials and the millenivators who are not investing in the stock market because we've gotten burned and we've seen our parents get burned 3 times in our lifetime. So when people are
So you're not going to put money in.
Being specific, the millennial generation, about 15% of them are actually investing in the stock market. So 85% aren't.
Bitcoin doesn't count, by the way.
Yes, and they are. And by the way, the millennials are larger in numbers than the
Baby boomers.
which is important. So you have a group, the second largest group, selling, and you have the largest group not buying. What happens to price when someone is selling more than people are buying? It has to go down.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. So when we're looking at Wall Street and we're saying this year, my parents turned 70 and a half this year. They are at the front edge of this baby boomer generation that are being forced to sell assets. Forced, not because they want to, forced to sell assets. And you have the millennials not buying it. Price must go down. This isn't like me being a prophet. This is just looking at economics and knowing that that's one of the problems we have with this bumped up system of how we're trying to hold Wall Street as this like main game.
It's a 4-letter word, right? Math.
Math.
It doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up.
Such a great point. By the way, I do want to see your parents' birthday.
September.
That's a great idea.
September, we're going to have the 70 and a half party. Now, for her, it actually will a celebration.
Congratulations on penalties if you don't sell them.
But thankfully, she's followed my advice and she has $0 in the stock market, $0 in Wall Street. But we're talking about the Wall Street mindset. What is not Wall Street? Because this is what our podcast is about, is things that are contra Wall Street, right? What are some of those things that we're going to be talking about on this show that is completely different than the accumulation strategies, the investing money in stocks and bonds, following the tax qualified plans, all the traditional advice that's gotten everybody to zero, right? Or worse.
Right. Well, I mean, and let's say this. Let's go ahead and get this out in the open. We're going to share things on this podcast. It's going to rub you the wrong way at first.
It already has. I think we already did that.
Spoiler. But stick with us, okay? If you are looking for an opportunity to get ahead, if you're feeling the same things that we're talking about, so many people are. Why am I not getting ahead? You're frustrated. You're disenfranchised for what you've been doing. What we're going to share is things that are definitely different. But that's good. I mean, different is not always bad. We've been told it is, being outside of the herd. But we're going to talk about things like passive income strategies. Okay, have we heard that before? Yeah, we've heard of passive income, but how many people are actually creating it?
You may have heard cash flow investing or passive income.
Right.
And those are the strategies and conversations we're going to have, the interviews we're going to be doing with people. We're going to be talking about ways that you can create cash flow, not accumulation.
Right. And we've got an episode on the UME level, Joey, in the future that's going to teach people about peer-to-peer lending, private lending opportunities.
That's right.
That's something that's very simple that, I mean, is there some risk associated with that? Sure. Is there some risk associated with that? Sure. But are you in control?
It's calculated.
Of that risk? Yes,
it can be calculated. It can be underwritten, so to speak. We're going to talk about things that would normally feel like they're out of reach for the average person, right? Like how to get into the rental home market or how to get into apartment financing, things that people are interested in, but maybe have never heard ways that they could get involved.
Well, and the idea is that what Wall Street mindset is not, is you being in control, you having access, liquidity, and use of your money, because all of those things are not what people are used to. I had a conversation this morning with a client and we were sitting there talking and, just her defaulting back to the traditional Wall Street mindset is where she'd been used to putting money and not having access to it. And we were talking about an account that she can put money into and can get immediate access. And she said, well, I'm a little bit nervous about putting money into this account. And I said, well, what are you nervous about? She said, well, because I'm not going to have access to it. It's not going to be as readily available as it would be just sitting in my checking account. And I said, well, what's not readily available? The last time we put money in this account and you needed access to it, how long did it take you to get it back? She goes, like a week. And I said, so what would be faster than that? Like, I mean, you really want access to money. How soon do you want it? She goes, well, I mean, that's pretty quick. I guess that's probably good. But the traditional investments that we have, like a 401k or IRA or those kind of things, it's when you're going to get it back. Well, how old are you? I'm 30. Okay, you're going to get that in 29 and a half years. That's
make sure to count that half.
Oh, I'm throwing half in.
Well, we work with a lot of business owners and help with cash flow consulting and cash flow coaching. And look, they're not looking to tie their money up because they strongly believe that they can get a better return on their money in what they know how to do, which is their business, than throwing it to some money babysitter and putting it in the market and seeing what's going to work and what's not. Right?
But yeah, I mean, you've got to think outside the box. And I'm telling you, this podcast is about knowing that there's things that we don't know, and we're going to keep trying to expose those. I mean, we even did earlier this year a whole podcast on health, or not a podcast, but a webinar on health sharing. The opposite of health insurance, when you're actually sharing medical expenses, which the three of us all do, our whole office, for the matter of fact, uses health sharing. But this is that's a topic nobody knows about. They don't, I had a couple in here yesterday and they were like trying to figure out a way to switch insurance companies because the guy actually has insurance through the company that he works for. But his daughter is going to go into the mission field, going to be in San Francisco planning a church. And the insurance that his company pays for doesn't cover California. They're only a Southeast-based group. So he's like, well, now we're going to have to swap to this other group, and my health premium is going to go up like boom, like because we're not going to no longer have it subsidized by the company. And I'm like, why wouldn't you look into this? Did you know that as a single, she can, and I asked Will, you're paying what? How much a month?
$85 a month.
$85 a month to be a part of this health sharing.
Well, and
group.
let's back in that because, all I had prior to that, really, I'm a 26-year-old. I consider myself a healthy individual, right? I may go to the doctor once or twice a year, okay? And I'm one of those types that doesn't enjoy going to the doctor anyway. So I was on a basically a catastrophic plan. But through Obamacare, had to step that up because that was no longer acceptable to the IRS, and I was going to have to pay a penalty. By the way, and you found this out, I think, for us. You actually don't even, that penalty is assessed if you get a tax refund, right?
Right.
So a lot of you out there listening to this may not be getting tax refunds. So
if you're a
business owner,
if you're a business owner, you're not going to be paying that thing anyway, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, as a business owner, that expense is so high, even just for a catastrophic policy. I mean, you're talking as an individual, single, hundreds of dollars a month. I'm paying $85 a month.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and it's important to know that those are ideas that are not Wall Street that we're going to be sharing. And it comes from a level of understanding because we talk about knowledge. Early on, we were talking about the credentials and everything else. And if you've spent half your life in school and got all these degrees, I'm not downplaying that because I think education is super valuable. And we teach our kids that learning is one of the most important things you can do. But second to that is you may know how to hit a baseball, but until you actually stand in there and see one and actually can feel and understand what's happening, you really don't know. And that's what's happening with investing. People can read all they want to, Wall Street Journal, watch some TV, and they think they understand what's going on with money, but they have a knowledge base, but they truly don't understand it. And I tell you, 4.5 years in the industry, I had no understanding of what really was going on in the market. And I just watched it go down, down, down. And that's why our show is about how we help people understand how money works, because we're going to get you hands-on control of it, and we're going to give you practical ways and tools that you can use and implement this in your life.
I think you said it really well. You got to stay tuned. You have to subscribe to this podcast to continue to get this information. We're going to be pumping it out to you each and every week. I'm really excited to share what we've learned. I credit Russ with sharing this stuff with me 8 years ago now. Golly, I can't believe it's been that long. But for those of you that are listening for the first time, I got so left one of the nation's leading banks at the pinnacle of my career because I was so passionate about making sure that real estate professionals in particular understand this, because they've gone so long with bad advice and how to grow wealth. So I want to be sharing what I've learned, and this is just another way we can get that word out.
Well, I can tell you this as we wrap up is the concept behind this. You mentioned we may rub people wrong. And if you start talking about some of these cash flow investing ideas, contra Wall Street ideas with your peers, they're going to be the crab that's trying to pull you back down in the barrel. You guys have heard the story, right? You know that this is actually a true thing, that crabs are really smart in species, that they can get themselves in and out of lots of things, but they'll go in and feed in these little crab pots, right? And they'll eat all the food that exists in there, and they actually can get themselves out. But for whatever reason, one will just sit in there, and then another one will come in there and join it, and then eventually one will get bored and want to leave. But what'll happen is that crab will get pulled back into the pot or the barrel by those other ones because they want them to be there. And if he fights, they'll actually rip his arms off. If he fights even further, they'll actually kill the crab trying to get out of the barrel. And I will put that analogy.
Misery loves company.
That's what happens out there, is that everybody wants to be so similar to people. That's the reason they're following the herd mentality, the Wall Street mindset. They're going to do what other people do. You may have signed up for an IRA or 401k because your friend was. You may be investing in something because your friends did it or your parents did it. These are concepts that not everybody's doing except the successful ones. We're going to talk about what the rich of the rich, what the biggest of businesses are doing. We're going to show you this isn't like, three guys sitting in the back of a shed talking about hopes and dreams, because This is practical things that we have watched the most successful people use, and we're going to share things that we have watched the most successful people use, and we're going to share those ideas. And I can tell you, I don't know anybody uber successful who made all their wealth investing in 401ks, IRA, stock market based stuff. They were investing in businesses, passive income strategies, cash flow investing. They were putting wealth to work and using it in areas that they understand and that they can control. And those are the things we want to share through this podcast.
And don't let these Alabama accents fool you. We're changing the world one listener at a time, guys. And Joey mentioned subscribing. Make sure that you do subscribe, because next episode, we are actually going to be talking. Joey is going to share a lot of stories. Joey was a loan originator. And really, how many people were under you at one of the largest banks in our country that I'll leave unnamed?
Yeah, I had 25 loan officers and about 60 banks that I was in charge of managing.
So you're pretty comfortable with lending.
Just a little bit.
And what comes along with lending. And you've now changed your strategy to make that more of a passive strategy within your portfolio. So next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about opportunities on peer-to-peer lending. We're going to talk about hard money lending. What's the difference between those two? And then we're going to bring up something called a commercial bridge loan. A lot of people don't know what these bridge loans are, how those operate. And in order for you to get that information, we're going to need you to subscribe to the show. We post on a weekly basis. We record and we work out every Wednesday morning. So you're going to get to tune into some of those fun things. And also hear some personal stories and some strategies of how, Joey, how you've done this. Russ, how you've been involved in bridge loans and different types of passive income strategies. Because a piece of our creed, Russ, does it not? Forever Light Financial says we practice what we preach.
Yep.
And that is everything that we discuss on this show. We are either investigating by having the authorities on the actual show, or we're doing it ourselves. And we're showing real life case studies here.
Well, I think that's the best way to do it. You got to is based upon book knowledge. It's going to be based upon understanding. And by the way, we're not perfect. I mean, we fail and have failed many times. And a lot of these stories that we'll tell you is how we failed. And that's why we're having this conversation, because I failed trying to follow the traditional Wall Street mindset. And that's why I'm so glad that you guys came up with this creative Wealth Without Wall Street name.
So guys, you're not going to want to miss it. Subscribe to the show on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're also in Podcast Pockets. Anywhere that you want to find us, you can likely find us, and go online and check out the website if you really are into learning. If you're into continuing education, we are online at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com. Any last words, fellas?
Yeah, I just ready to see Joey in action here in a second. Working out.
I'm bringing the heat today.
Superman. We'll see you next episode.